Hey guys, just wanted to share a project I'm working on with you. So, as I shared previously, I like, the IoT maker type of stuff with Arduinos and Raspberry Pis, and you can see a bunch of Raspberry Pi stuff right here. And I think I showed it in the previous video, but just quickly, here's what that looks like. There's their symbol, and Raspberry Pi Foundation is a non-profit. And this is the Pi Zero. And all it is just a really small computer. Here's the processor. Here's a SD card for memory and for the operating system. HDMI input, or rather output, sorry, for display, and USB for power, and USB for other inputs, and you can also plug in a camera. So here's what one of those cameras actually looks like. So there's a couple projects I'm working on here. One of them is an actual camera with a display. So this is the regular one. They also have one without an IR filter. So you can take, if you have an IR source, you can take nighttime photography. So let's see. So for that camera project, here's the display I'm going to use, and this stuff's from Adafruit. There's a place in New York, makes lots of maker-friendly stuff. So this is one of their display screens for Raspberry Pi. So this is a 2.8-inch TFT, so thin film transistor base display with 320 by 240 resolution, and it has touchscreen capability. And they've added 4 buttons on the front here. And this particular board already has both the headers soldered in. TFT. They also have OLED ones. I think for that size the TFT are more common. And then here's the battery I'm going to use for that, 1200 milliamps or milliamp hours. Here's another board. It's a Feather. So another microcomputer. Here's a USB-based Wi-Fi dongle. Here's a 2x20 header for Raspberry Pi. Here's connectors, breadboard, yada yada yada. Case for the camera. Here's the Pi I used to prototype most of the stuff I build inside the little Adafruit case. And here's the power booster I'm going to use for the camera as well. So this will allow it to charge faster, and for me to actually use the battery on it to charge other things like even iPhones. So I also need this one. And the case for this camera build I'm designing on Autodesk, AutoFusion software. and then I'm gonna have it 3D printed. So, but today, what I want to show you is I'm gonna make an emulator, and there's a couple good videos on YouTube about how to make these, so I'm not gonna go too much into specifics, just the overview. And making this for someone inside of a NES game. So they want it inside of Paperboy. I try to get them to trade for something else. A lot of people will make them in, like, you know, the classic games. I made one before for my brother with inside of one of these Super Mario Duck Hunt combo. So these black box games are good, I think, and they're quite common, so it's not too big of a waste. Or you could go for like the movie version. Yeah. So the person I'm making this for, he also threw in these two complete games, which is really nice of him, with the box and instructions. The keyboard box is in really good shape, except for this little ding here. And this Wheel Junior is pretty decent as well, but these are very common games. And while we're on the subject, my favorite NES games are gotta be the Capcom, especially the Mega Man engine in general. In fact, I like DuckTales and Darkwing Duck probably more than Mega Man. But my favorite retro games are on the Super Nintendo. Anyway, so we're going to cram all of this junk inside of here. So you don't really, I mean, you can make it inside of anything you want. It doesn't have to be inside of an NES game. All we need to do is have an SD card. And the SD card should be, I think, Gen 8 or better. The last one I made, I think, was Gen 10. That's what I used. I think. Might be making that up. Anyway, and we're going to load RetroPie on that. And then the rest of it you can figure out yourself or look up at the videos as far as how to finish getting the software set up. And then all we need is an HDMI output, and this is an HDMI mini. Then we need a USB micro for power and USB micro for inputs, which for us is going to be the game controllers. That's it. Okay. So this is what is commonly used. This is an Amazon USB hub. I've taken the cover off already and taken the LED out that was here. And I've reinforced this weld where it connects here with some glue, because these come off really easily. Okay, so that's going to be our input. So our controller's going to plug into here. So obviously this is a regular USB. What is that called? USB-A. And here's an what they're calling a tiny OTG on-the-go adapter for the micro USB. This just helps to save space. I think I've seen these on Amazon too. And I've made this mistake before. If you put it in the wrong way, it's kind of hard to get out. Okay, there you go. So that's all that is. So that's going to go into there. Next, when you make these type of devices with the Pi or the Arduinos, if you're plugging them into the wall especially, you really do want to have a nice thick cable and one of the higher quality USB cables, because especially if it's any length, because you're going to need a bit of length for the power to get from the wall or from the TV to the system to the controller and stuff. You want to have some room to work with there. And so if it's not good quality, you'll just lose current. And let's see. So I'm just going to use one of these Apple boxes. Most smartphone charging blocks will work. It needs to be, and you're not going to be able to read that. Well, maybe you will. I had to use my scope to read it, but it needs to be 5 volts, 1 amp. Did I even have that right side up? Yeah, I can't read that. But anyway, most modern smartphone charging blocks will work. So that's basically going to be our power supply like that, if you want to plug it into the wall. And then on this side, we're going to actually use this little converter. And now we're going to plug that into the power one. Oh, they're intuitive. It's labeled all for you on the board there. You could solder all of this up as well, all these connections, but I want to make it plug and play in case they want to change it up, use the Pi for something else, any project you can really think of, or if they need to fix anything. Okay, so that's the memory. And you could use earlier flash micro SD cards. The only issue with the ones that are earlier generation is that if you don't properly shut down the Pi through the software and you do a hard shutdown, it might corrupt the SD card. And at that case, the worst case scenario is you take it out, reformat it, reload it. All your saved games will be gone and stuff like that. But you could, you can still play it again or get a new one. Okay, so the only thing left is our mini HDMI to HDMI converter. And this is one of the gold ones, I think. Alright, so there's the whole system, really. That's done. It can be played right now. And so, as far as controllers, I'm a big Super Nintendo fan, actually, and I would recommend, if you're going to go this route, the iBuffalo Classic USB Gamepad. Out of the reproduction ones, this one is really good for button feel. Buttons are really nice and firm, and it has the actual real D-pad, not the two split diagonally ones. I really could care less about the turbo. I'd rather they actually make one without it. But yeah, these are nice. And so this would go into here. Another route you can go is get one of these classic converters, and they have them for pretty much any system. So it has USB on this side, and on this side you can plug in old school Nintendo NES controller in this case. Okay, and so that's the whole thing. Now the trick with fitting it inside of the NES game is, first and foremost, you got to open it up. This is really the only thing you need beyond the actual hardware is one of these game bits. I mean, maybe you could go to a local game store and they'll open it for you if they have retro games. Okay, so there we go. Supposedly there's a lot of fakes out there nowadays. The retro video game market seems to have grown quite a bit since I started collecting some time ago. So yeah. So is there PRG and CHR chips? So unfortunately, you know, maybe there's an empty Paperboy cart somewhere without its guts. Alright guys, so that's gonna do it for today. I think I'll make another episode where I do actually put it all together and finish out this emulator project with the NES cart and the Raspberry Pi. So stay tuned for that. And thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.